All right, so I just dug 11 walking paths for these 12 rows, and when I finished that meant I was more than 2/3 of the way done digging the walking paths for my food production gardens for the year. I've got one section left, which is right behind me, and I've already dug the paths inside this small hoop house. I just need to finish this half and then do the section in between the hoop house and the heat mat. And yeah, I think I have to dig the walking paths for the cathedral, which is my really tall hoop house, which I'm rebuilding with a different style bender to make it a different shape. Hopefully it'll shed snow better. But even with that, I'm more than 2/3 of the way done with my food production garden for the year in terms of digging the walking paths. So that was a good workout at the end of a work day. Came home from about a 2-hour drive for work, hopped into my work clothes, my garden clothes, and came out and dug those. Sweating like crazy, as you can probably tell. And now I'm gonna go get a drink of water. Well, I've had a long day with a lot of travel, and what I like to do at the end of a long day is work in my garden. It's something I really enjoy. One of the reasons I do this is just for the sheer pleasure of it. Obviously, get a lot of good exercise. I love being outside, and I get a lot of amazing food out of it. Behind me, I'm actually watering. I've had the hose on for a while. I'm hoping, since I dug the rows over there this afternoon when I got home from work, I'm hoping that tomorrow I can plant out a bunch of my brassicas. I've got a bunch of broccoli and cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and a bunch of kale. But anyway, while that's watering in, as the sun's going down, I actually need to fix this little tiny hoop house, which I cut off my Quonset hut a number of years ago. When I bought that, it was 48 feet long, and I started farming in 32-foot sections. Watch out, bub. So I wanted to move my hoop house in a certain way, and so I basically truncated it, made it 32 feet, and then kept this section 16-foot piece and made it its own little greenhouse. This is where I keep my hens in the winter most years. But one thing I've noticed about this Quonset hut style hoop house is that over time the pressure of the snow, I think, is what does it, but over time the foundation spreads out. So originally when I bought this, it was prefab. I bought it from a guy several hours from where I live. Took it apart and transported it back to the farm where I was farming at the time. And this greenhouse is built, or this hoop house is built to be 17 feet wide. And it's now, at this end, it's maybe 18 feet. And down here, it's probably almost 20 feet, maybe 19 and a half. And I think that's just, the same thing has happened to the 32-foot Quonset hut. The 17 feet should be enough to exactly fit 5 of my 30-inch beds with a 10-inch walking path in between each of them. And I've got a little extra space on one end of the hoop house. So what I'm going to try to do is anchor the other side and then force this side in to be where it's supposed to be, and then drive the anchors in so it can't come back. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but it's worth a shot. I used to be able to do this sort of thing with the tractor. I could just grab onto it and yard it in with a tractor, but I'm going to try to do it by hand with just simple leverage with my wrecking bar, and we'll see how it goes. So if you remember, these bed prep rakes are 30 inches from one end to the other. So I've got one tine, the tine on one end, on the edge of the walking path where it's supposed to be, which means that my foundation, the corner of my foundation, actually needs to come in almost 2 feet to that tine on this side. And then I'm digging a walking path to come up to meet the foundation board. It should be, this foundation board should be in line with that path. So it's got to move in about 2 feet. So I've set the posts, the anchor posts on the other side. I need to anchor the foundation board to those with some punch hole strapping and some screws. And once I've done that, what I'm going to try to do is get underneath the foundation board with my wrecking bar and lever it up so that it comes up and then just slides down the wrecking bar into the anchor. I'm going to preset the anchor, I guess. I'm going to see how that works. I'm trying to basically overcome years of slow pressure on this metal, and metal definitely has a muscle memory, for lack of a better term. So it's going to be challenging to do it, but I really want to fix this. I don't like it'll really bother me that this row will be completely messed up and then there'll be extra space inside the hoop house that I can't plant anything. Well, it's getting kind of dark. I just had to go get the drill. I'm going to put the punch hole strapping, which, if you don't know what that is, it's all the stuff that I took off the old, this is called punch hole strapping. There are other names for it, but if you walk into a hardware store and say, I need punch hole strapping, this is what you'll get. So this is basically what I use to anchor the hoop houses. I've actually built hoop houses out of this, using this to make all the connections between metal and the connections between wood and metal. It's very versatile stuff. It's not as strong as bolting through the metal, but it will work. I've had hoop houses that have lasted 5-6 years, and the only reason they didn't last longer is because I took them apart to move them. But I'm going to attach this stuff on these two sides that I don't want to move, and then I think I'm going to call it a night for moving the hoop house. I don't want to get involved in trying to lever the other side in as it's getting dark. There's actually these little, I don't know, flanges, I guess, for lack, I don't know what they're called, but and you can actually slide this up underneath. And the whole point of this is that when the wind blows across the top of a hoop house, it's like wind blowing across the top of an airplane wing, and it causes lift, and there's a lot of upward pressure on the hoop house to basically fly away. So what I'm doing with these is basically I'm gonna screw this into the wood on the foundation and on both sides, and do it in such a way that this is up underneath one of these little flanges, so that resists the upward pressure. I put this in at an angle. Ideally it would be about 45 degrees, and it would be, I put it in so it's parallel with the foundation. Ideally I'd put it in at a 45-degree angle to the foundation and then 45 degrees into the ground. But if I did that, I wouldn't be able to get a mower down through here. I've done that in the past. You can kind of see maybe down there, I did the same thing. That one should be off at an angle like that. But this one's really small, and there's not a whole lot of wind here because I'm surrounded by woods right around the garden. So I think I'll be all set with it basically in the same plane as the foundation, and that way I'll be able to get my lawnmower in here and keep this grass nice and short, so we have hopefully less vole pressure going in underneath.